And we missed you too. And so with that, we're going to salute our flag. Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Arnie, are you here? I'm going to ask Arnie to introduce some of us.
Good morning. And welcome back, beginning of our new season. We'd like to acknowledge all of our guests, and please hold your applause till I'm done with the list. Could take a while. Sarah also from GL Homes. Captain Rob Sant, District 4 Captain. Lieutenant Chuck Morris, District 4, both BBSO. Shannon Cheeseman, Clerk and Controller. Joe Duffy, Public Education Specialist, Delray Beach Fire. Jenny Caesar, Congressman Lois Frankel's office. Chris Keno, VBSO. Freddie Scott, Commissioner Abrams' office. Tony Keeler, firefighter and paramedics of Palm Beach. Rebecca De La Rosa, Legislative Affairs Director. Howie Zimmerman, Palm Beach County Appraiser's office. Kelly Johnson, Senator Joe Russo's office. Gabrielle Ferraro, Civic Engagement Liaison, Palm Beach County Tax Collector's Office. Mike Pratt, Palm Beach County Property Appraiser's Office. Ed Saul, Emily Schlossberg's office. Gil Handler, Emily Schlossberg's office. Maxine Cheeseman, candidate for Circuit Court. Maribel Coleman, candidate for Circuit Court. Susan Booker, Supervisor of Elections. Mary Lou Berger, Palm Beach County Commissioner.
You're not done.
Or Megan White, Commissioner Mary Lou Berger's office. Robert Weinroth, candidate for County Commission. Rachel Zara, Palm Beach County Legislative Delegate. Leslie Schreiber, Sheriff Bradshaw's office. Rosemary Raymond, Lake Worth Drainage District. Abby Ross, Senator Lori Berman's office. Alexis Tucker, Staff Representative. Diana Johnson, Executive Administrator, Clerk and Controller's office. Christine Shaw, Executive Director, Palm Beach County Legislative. Karen Brill, Palm Beach County School Board. Welcome, everybody.
Okay, so as usual, we're going to ask our people who protect us to get up here and give us a report and let us know what's going on in the commission. Captain, Service Captain, where are you, Captain? Okay, we'll get them back on the street. Man of the hour.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, that's better.
I'm not really a guy that stands behind the mic too often, so forgive me. Unless I'm singing, of course. But good morning. Welcome everybody here.
Just hold it to your mouth.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Close. Good.
Good morning. How about that?
Good.
All right. Excuse my New York accent a little bit, and I'm mostly get used to that. Anyway, I hope summer find you guys well. You guys enjoyed yourself. Everybody's happy and healthy, and now we're back to work. For those who have not met yet, my name is Captain Sant. I'm the District 4 Commander here. I brought today with me Chuck Morris, my new Executive Lieutenant, and I have Sergeant Newland, Sean Newland, who will handle all our detective work we have going on in the district. Any follow-up with that, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Quick, traffic-wise, please, everybody, tell your peers, your community members, slow down a little bit, please. That's one of our biggest priorities here in the district, and some of our biggest problems we have with the district is just the speeding. I know it'll come a shock to you guys, but the speeding and the car crashes are really on the rise, okay? I anticipate it to get even worse as the season starts rolling back in. Crime, we're very, very fortunate and blessed in the area, have very low crime. One thing I'd like to note as far as the theft go, excuse me, please be mindful of putting your property away, your valuables away, when you have the cleaning crews coming, the medical assistants coming to the house. We're having a lot of fraud cases as such. One last thing I'd like to note on the thefts is we're having a lot of distraction type of thefts that are occurring not only in West Boca throughout the county, but here I believe it was in a dollar store. I assigned Sergeant Newland to really look at that very, very closely, and this is what's happening. People are going into the dollar store to shop. You'll have suspects coming in distracting you somehow and picking your wallet right out of your purse. All right? Please zip it up. Please pay attention to the best you can. And if it doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, please report it to the manager or just call the police if something's not right. Okay? Those are two of the top tier problems that we're having. Different side of the house. Burglaries are all down. Vehicle burglaries, please lock your doors, put your valuables away, out of sight. Other than that, we have a lot of very important people I want to present here today, so I won't take too much of your time. Listen, my door is always open. I'm starting now finally to get my feet firmly placed on the ground. Things are doing very, very well in the district. I'm more than happy to share any of that one-on-one or exclusively or coming in as a group. We'll do it there, okay? And thank you very much for your time.
Welcome, Captain. We're glad to have you. Hello, fire rescue here with Kira. Come on up, Kira. Tony Kira. Have to forgive me, I'm not no good with the names anymore. Come on, Tony.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving us some time again today. Summer is wound down, so now we're right in the middle of hurricane season. Happy to let you know that in your communities, West Point, Delray, at least the areas that I service down here in the South End for the local, we've been doing a lot of work, a lot of talks in a lot of communities, whether it's hurricane safety, hurricane preparedness. We're still doing CPR. All our regular programs are going strong. So I appreciate you guys for getting the word out that those services are available and for working within your communities to reach out to us to allow us to help all of our citizens be safer in Palm Beach County, especially down here in the South End, where we have a higher incidence of elderly population who need more help when it comes to the storms, when it comes to those things. So that's about it on our end. Everything is going well for us, and if there's anything we can ever do to help you in your community with any of those services or any of those talks, please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, thank you to the Alliance for giving us time to come see you today. Okay? Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Let's see. Well, if you read the papers recently, which I'm sure most of you did, or your cell phone or whatever it may be, there was a big event. Solid Waste Authority was going on to bid for contracts, and they wanted to change the availability of what we were going to get. And so the decision was made that they were going to go to one pickup a week, and they wanted to give you a 96-day can. Most of us couldn't even look into it to see what was in the bottom of it, but that's what they wanted to give us. And Dr. Laurie and I went up there with the commissioner, and of course our commissioner was there, Mary Lou Berger, who supported us, and we made our pitch, and we told them what the problems were, and that they had to think a different way. And so the outcome of it was that they agreed to go to 2 pickups a week from 1 pickup a week. I couldn't imagine 1 pickup a week with the garbage, and we have some people maybe incontinent, and I don't want to say it, but the diapers and things like that. You can imagine what it would be like after 7 days in your garage. And so with one of those good occasions, they at that meeting they voted to go back to 2 pickups a week, and they're still going to use the automated truck, the kind of thing you'll see coming down the hall. And they're going to give us a choice of cans. You can have a 96 or you can have a 64, which is the better size. You have to use their cans, unfortunately, or fortunately, you wouldn't need a can anymore, because that can is suited to be picked up by the machine. And so it was a victory for the Alliance and for Palm Beach County, and we were happy that we were able to do that. And so I want you to know, because a lot of people have been calling and asking what's going on. Not everybody gets the word. And what's going on is a total victory for the Alliance, and I thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce Dr. Laurie now. She has a whole bunch of important information that you should have. So here you are.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. A few things. Wendy Lipsick is here from Congressman Deutsch's office, and Michelle McGovern came from Senator Nelson's office too, the two people that were just walking in the door. So, a few things following up with that. Thank you all very much for all of the hundreds and hundreds of emails, over 400 emails we had, and we walked into the Solid Waste Authority meeting with those emails, with the cover letter, and also the yard trash, that will not go down as well. And that's very good for our western communities and with larger parcels and people that can, it'll still be 6 cubic yards for that. So in the next newsletter, we're going to show you a picture with Bob standing right next to the new one that you can actually get, which is shorter, but also you'll see the whole line of them. You'll see that in the newsletter in full color, and also we'll explain everything that's going to go in those. It's a bid for contract. It's the bids that they're doing now. We welcome 2 communities this summer, Warwick Road HOA and Villaggio Reserve. 2 communities. We have been busy all summer, you can tell, and our newsletter shows it, that if you'll look in our newsletters, we have the board certification course advertised for Thursday, November 8th, between 9 and 12. COAs and HOAs will be presenting that. So in the newsletter, there's a number to call, it's my number, and we'll sign you up for that course. Next, phone squad. Norma Arnold needs phone squad members to volunteer to make the phone calls. We have a bigger list than ever, and we need more phone squad members. So please see Norma after. And this month, of course, we're going to have Susan Bucher. Next month, we're going to be explaining the ballot amendments. We're going to have Todd Bunlaren from the county come. And there's still, you have right now in front of you, which we presented to you today, 3 pages. And this is sort of important to look at if you want to know a little bit more about the amendments. It goes more than the line that we've been putting in, and more than a paragraph. The actual amendments taken right off of the election sites are on here. But today, this afternoon, there's a hearing on what amendments might still be in or might still be out. We'll know much more next when Susan Bucher speaks today, and also next month, because things still are happening. And then our November meeting will be Atlantic Avenue Road widening. All about that, the update from the Transportation Planning Agency, and we'll be having Nick Uren about that. And we're really involved in that with all of your help as well. Speaking of this development and road widening, today, to alleviate to answer any questions, and there's animosity about why isn't the road widened first before development? And right now, the statute is about 7 pages long. But right now, you have this one little piece of paper that I highlighted, and it explains what Florida statutes are speaking about concurrency, 163.3180. So if anybody asks you any questions about road widening, it's being done as soon as possible, and the Alliance had it even moved up onto the schedule of the TPA. They're looking to make it sooner than the 2022 and all when they're starting. They're working on that. We'll hear more about it in November, but just to let you know that it's something called concurrency, and as long as developers give an agreement to pay their proportionate share of required improvements, they pay it. It's put into a fund, and the county can do it any way they want to arrange these payments. They put it into a fund, and then it's put on a schedule for road widening. And it cannot be used the idea of road widening actually cannot be used to deny time or phase an application for site plan approval, plat approval, final division sub-approval, building permits, or the functional equivalent of such approvals. And really, it explains it here that the only things that are allowed to be, that are public, that need concurrency are sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, and potable water. They're the only public facilities and services subject to the concurrency requirement on a statewide basis. So that's what we are dealing with on a daily basis when we try to get all of this construction going onto widening the road. And you know that the Alliance has worked very hard getting certain traffic lights in record time up to help the situation. But we continue to work on this, and we'll be calling on you again for help in letting the Transportation Planning Agency know and our commissioners know that we need to get this done soon. Okay, we could go back to Bob. The program returns to Bob.
And with that, I want to have a good news. I want to thank Michael Chapnick, our sponsor this morning for our breakfast. We thank him. And with that, we give him a very little bit chance to tell us who he is. Come on, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you to the board for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming this morning. This is great. Psycho, this is the first meeting back. Just briefly, I want to introduce myself. I hope everybody enjoyed breakfast. My name is Mike Chapnick. I am a community association lawyer and a partner with the law firm of, let me try and get this right, Siegfried, Rivera, Hyman, Lerner, De La Torre, Mars, and Sobel. Mostly it's just Siegfried Rivera. So, I am one of 129, I think, board certified specialists in condominium and homeowners association plan and development law in Florida. I have been practicing, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So I started up in Chicago somewhere around 1996, came down here doing association law up there. I thought Florida was going to be a nice place to be, kind of relaxed and calm and different than practicing in Chicago. So I came down here. I was wrong, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been doing this 22 odd years. I love what I do. I am general counsel to condominium and homeowners associations. All I do every day is help boards like you, board members like you, with the do's and don'ts of running your communities. And I see my job as helping you run your associations. So whether it's just day-to-day operational issues, opinion letters, declaration amendments, bank loans, collections, foreclosures, covenant enforcement. At one point or another, I've either done it, seen it, or taught it. I teach classes on a regular basis, board member certification classes. I do a webinar once a month. If you'd like a course, a talk, I'm always happy to come out to your community. If you have just a question and you want to give me a call, I have cards back there. Always happy to give you a second opinion. And I think my time is up. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Real well. With the real word, we'll call on our commissioner. How about Mary Lou Burton? Come on up, Mary Lou. It's a beautiful picture, by the way. I'll leave it down here. You come up and see it.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, Alliance. Good morning. One more time, you can do better. Good morning, Alliance. Good morning. That's much, much better. I had words that I was going to say, but given the picture that Mrs. Nelson just presented to Bob and Lori, I thought I would add a story to this. I have this picture in my office. It's about that big. That was a painting that Commissioner Aronson had in his office, and as most of you know, I worked for him during his, I want to call it the reign, but during his time as a county commissioner. And when he was getting ready to vacate his office, he called me in and he said, look at all this stuff I have. What here would you like to have? What would you like me to leave with you? And I said, I want the picture. And he said, oh, and why is that? And I said, Commissioner, when I first visited you in your office, I mentioned the picture when I saw it because I'm a Norman Rockwell fan. And you said to me, I have that picture up there because I want to remember that I represent all of the people all of the time while I'm in office. And since you told that to me, here we are 8 years later, and I want that picture to stay on the wall so I can remember that I represent all of the people all of the time. So the next time, if you have the time to stop into my office in West Palm Beach, you can see this picture and get a true idea of what we are as a people when we stand together. Other than that, I really don't have much to say except for happy and healthy New Year to each and every one of you who are Jewish. And I'm glad you're back. I missed you all, and I will see you next month.
Joe, Commissioner, well, the picture is beautiful. I'm going to put it down here, and everybody on the way out, if you want, you can come and see it. And with that, I think I'm going to throw the mic back to Dr. Lurie. Karen Bill, are you here? Oh, there you are, Karen. Come on up. Karen represents us on the school board, and she's doing a great job, and she's always doing us. Here you go.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So, think back on when you were growing up. Could you ever imagine that you'd have to worry about kids bringing guns to school? We are living in an absolutely crazy world. And, you know, you can't plan for crazy, but I have to tell you that we're doing a fabulous job, and we're working on the underlying cause, which is mental health. So I want you to know that those are our main priorities this year: safety, security, mental health. You'll be hearing a lot about it. I don't want to take up a lot of your time because you have a great program, but I wanted to give you something upbeat to think about. Because most of us come from up north, smaller school districts, nothing like the massive school district that we have down here. So I just want to give you a couple of figures to make your day. Almost 1,300 dedicated food service staff served over 407,000 breakfasts and over 992,000 lunches in just the first 2 weeks of school. We serve an average of 40,000 breakfasts and 99,200 lunches a day. Can you imagine that? And now we're working on, in our more impoverished areas, our Title I schools, providing dinners, so that, because you know you cannot learn if your brain isn't nourished. So I leave you with those thoughts, and thank you for allowing me to say hello, L'Shana Tova, to anyone who's celebrating, and I will see you next month.
Thank you, Karen. Well, last but not least, Dr. Lurie, come on.
Yes, we have our speaker. Our speaker this morning, we have Susan Bucher, Supervisor of Elections. Yes. Now, she's been our Supervisor of Elections for a while, and she's been doing a fantastic job. Before that, just to give you a little history, very, very short, she was in the Florida House of Representatives from 2000 to 2008. She did an excellent job for us there, and right now she's going to be explaining all about that long November ballot. Okay, Susan.
Good morning, Delray Alliance. How was your summer? Okay, I know it was really good last week because everybody came out and voted, and I'm so very pleased to be here today to say that our county came out at 33.56% for Democrats and 30.26% for Republicans in Palm Beach County, and that's a pretty good number for a partisan primary in the midterm. So give yourself a hand and thank you. Okay, so every morning, I don't live very far, I go to the Delray office and I pick up your vote by mail ballots that you drop off there. I'm gonna have to get a truck because I picked up anywhere from 3 to 5 and 600 ballots every day from our South County office. So for those people that were carrying ballots to that office, I say thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. So we wrapped up the primary election, we posted the election results, and we promptly had a recount. It's Palm Beach County. So we were a little tired after about 45 days of working straight, but on Friday we did a recount in Boca Raton, and we announced the winner early in the afternoon, and then we had a 3-day weekend, but we really didn't. We're setting up for the November 6th general election, and as you know, there are some very important races on that ballot. We now know who our candidates are going to be for governor. We know the candidates for U.S. Senate. We have some races for the eastern part of your state representative. We have those 2 candidates, Democrat, Republican. Your state senator was not up in this territory. She just got elected, remember, Lori? And so we are working right now madly on this crazy ballot. And I want you to see what we mocked up. This is what your ballot is going to look like on November 6th, or if you get a vote by mail ballot. So let me just encourage you that what happens in our office is that if you request a vote by mail ballot, you would complete a form like this, and I have them, and I'll fill them out for you after, and we would send you a ballot about 30 days before the election. That's in 1 month. And if you don't do that, then 30 days before the election, we're going to send you a sample ballot. These items will be very important because within the body of the sample ballot is going to contain the actual ballot that you should expect to receive when you vote. And let me show you the ballot. You're going to have the front page of candidates. This is the back page of that card. You're going to have another card that is ballot questions, and you're going to have another card that on the back side that is ballot questions. Right now, there are 14 ballot questions proposed for the November 6th ballot, and there are 4 to 5 lawsuits about those ballot questions. So Lori went over a couple of the lawsuits today. There's a couple of items that are in court today, but the target items that may or may not appear on your ballot are number 6, number 8, number 10, number 13, and there's 6 ballot questions that have multiple items that are being challenged by some previous lawmakers because they have multiple items that are not related in the same question. And so that is currently on appeal. And so I handed out, and we haven't had a lot of time to make it pretty, so it's just really straightforward ballot questions. And I handed a copy to everybody. It says Supervisor of Elections on the top, and I want to briefly go over these questions because you're going to want to know what they are. So Amendment 1 is increases your homestead by $25,000 for homes worth $125,000 or more. Number 2 is a limitation on property tax amendment. It makes a cap of 10% on annual property values for vacation homes, apartments, commercial property, and anything that's not homesteaded. Number 3 would take away the control of the legislature from passing laws that would allow casino gambling, and it would make it be that a citizen petition initiative, remember those signatures that get ballot questions on the ballot? You would have to sign 763 petitions, put them into the state, and get an amendment on the ballot in order to expand casino gambling. Number 4 is a restoration of civil rights, which includes the right to vote. To citizens with felony convictions who have served their time, there is an exception for complicated crimes that do not qualify. Number 5 is supermajority vote required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees. It would require 2/3 of the vote by the legislature rather than a simple majority now. Number 6 is rights of victims of crimes and judges. This is multiple item. Creates a constitutional right for victims of crimes, requires judges to independently interpret laws and rules rather than deferring to a government agency, and importantly, it raises the mandatory age of justices and judges for retirement from 70 to 75. So that is a multi-issue question. Number 7 is first responders and military members survivor benefits, public college and universities. The first part of the question, this has 3 things, grants mandatory payment of death benefits and provides education expenses to qualifying survivors of first responders and military members who die performing official duties. The second part of that requires a supermajority vote by university trustees and the Board of Governors to raise or impose new taxes or fees. Number 8 is a 3-part question. It's pretty bad. Okay, so number 8 creates, and this one has been knocked off the ballot, but it's on appeal, it's being heard today in court. Creates a term limit of 8 consecutive years for school board members. Requires the legislature to provide civics literacy in public schools. That's already a matter of law. That's the sweetener to that question. Permits the state, not the school board, to operate, control, and supervise public schools not established by the school board. Do you know what public schools not established by the school board are? It's charter schools. So it creates a state-controlled, supervised public schools not established by the school board. That one's in court because it doesn't say charter schools, and the people suing don't think it's clear. Number 9 prohibits offshore drilling, and it also prohibits vaping in enclosed indoor workplaces. Not related, but I guess pollution is pollution, I don't know. Number 10 is also in contention, and it is state and local government structure and operation. This has a bunch of them in there. It requires the state to retain the Department of Veterans Affairs. I didn't know they were looking to abolish it. Requires the election of sheriffs, property appraisers, supervisors of elections, tax collectors, clerks of court in all counties. That is targeted to Broward and Miami-Dade, who have an appointed tax or property appraiser, and Miami has an appointed supervisor of elections. So not important here, but that's only the first part. Changes the annual legislative start date in even years to January from March. It removes the authorization for the legislature to fix the dates. They change it all the time. In election years, they like to meet in January so they can go campaign, and in off-election years, they like to meet in March. I don't know why. Creates the Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism within the Department of Law Enforcement. So that's a whole bunch of things. And number 11 is property rights, removal of obsolete provisions, criminal statutes. Repeals a provision that prohibits foreign-born people not eligible for citizenship from owning, disposing, or inheriting real property. Right now, that's an issue that's been in the legislature for 20 years. Removes obsolete language regarding high-speed rail or high-speed transportation. Creates language regarding the repeal of criminal state and its prosecutors. It deletes something known as the savings clause, which states that the repeal of criminal statutes does not affect the prosecution of crimes committed before their appeal. What does that mean? That means that if you commit a crime and then the law changes, right now, when you commit the crime, you are under the current law. If the law changes to be more lenient, they cannot apply that retroactively. So that would go away. But that is a 3-pronged question. Number 12 just expands the restrictions for lobbying by former public officials from 2 years to 6 years, pretty straightforward. Number 13 phases out commercial dog racing with wagering by 2020. That one's in court because it says it phases out, ends dog racing. It doesn't end dog racing, it ends dog racing with wagering. And the 14th ballot question is a countywide school board amendment, and that referendum is to approve ad valorem levy for school safety, teachers, and operational needs. Currently, the school board has the authority to tax us on every $1,000 of our property value at 0.25 mils, which means a quarter, and they're looking to increase that to 1 mil for the purpose of funding school safety, school police officers, mental health professionals, and it also funds art, music, physical education, and career choice, and it improves teachers' salaries. So that is a countywide question. So you can see that if you want to go to the polling location and you want to think that you're going to read that, and this, it's going to take you a really long time. So what I'm going to recommend is that either you get a vote by mail ballot, and you can see me after and I can sign you up for one if you don't already get that, or you want to take a look at your sample ballot. The sample ballot is going to come to you 30 days before the election. On the front page, it shows you where your polling location is, but more importantly, interior is going to be a lot bigger than this. This is the primary. We're going to include all of the pages of your ballot. I need you to read these questions. I need you to research these questions. There's a good guide that's being prepared right now by the League of Women Voters. You'll see the newspapers come out. There will be a lot of documentation. I think yesterday I got this little flyer that gave me some information, and it goes over not only the amendments but the pros and cons. You're going to see a lot of these, and the state will put out something like this that we should have in the next 15 days. We will locate them at libraries and at public buildings. But I can't emphasize enough, this is one of the first times that I've ever seen questions being blended together for political purpose. And so what the press is saying is that there is one sweetener with a lot of bad stuff. So be very careful, because your yes vote is a yes on everything, and your no vote is a no on everything. And so there is a concerted effort out there to send a message to the state. The state has a Constitution Revision Commission that meets once every 20 years. They came up with 23 items that they slammed into 8 questions. That is a disservice to the citizens of the state of Florida. Those are all publicly appointed partisan individuals who sat on that board and got these questions for their own benefit or for the industry they represented benefit. I think we as citizens can send a very solid message by being educated voters and sending the message to say, you're not going to fool us, we're going to know what these questions are. We're not going to willy-nilly go and Christmas tree these questions. These are going into our state constitution. We are going to know what we're voting on. We are going to express our opinions, and we are going to make a difference, right? Right. Okay, so we're going to open up 15 early voting sites. And I'm pleased to say that the League of Women Voters sued the state because we were not allowed to go into colleges and universities. I will know by the end of today a location at the Boca campus at FAU to have an early voting site, because we have increased our voter registration from 18 to 25-year-olds by 8% in Palm Beach County this year. And so you might not be able to drive in there and park because it's a pretty crazy place, but if I put voting in front of those kids, I think they come out and vote, because I've been talking to them. I know everybody's been talking to them on the campaign trail, and they're excited to vote. And so it's going to cost some money to go park at early voting at FAU, but these are our future. We want them to get accustomed. So if you have kids or grandkids, get them to know what's on their ballot. Get them to express their opinions. This is one of the most important times that we're going to see. The candidates are vitally important. We know what the leadership has been in the state. We know where we want the state to go. We know that you are the backbone of our society. You are my voters in South County. You make a difference. People come here. Look, people come here to see you because you are individuals of influence. So spread the word. Come out and vote. 15 early voting sites. It'll open October 22nd. It'll end November 4th. The polls at the early voting will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. One of them is right here. We will send out more than 200,000 vote by mail ballots. Those will go out 30 days before the election. And if you still haven't decided, then your polling locations on November 6th will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I thank all the poll workers out in this audience. I couldn't do it without you. I have a very small but mighty team. We have 48 members who work for us on a full-time basis. We are picking up almost 5,000 people during the election, so be very careful out there. I trust you, we train you, I put my reputation out there and you guys stomp on it. So make sure that we have a nice, smooth election. We had a great primary election. We are a very pivotal county, not only in the state of Florida, but in the United States. So let's go out there and be educated voters. Let's get out our vote. Let's make sure that our vote and our voice is heard. Thank you very much.
We could take some questions from the audience. We have them written down. If anybody has any, you can.
You have the card, you have any questions?
You can submit the card. We do have one question from a board member here. Can you just talk about the online registration? Do you have that for?
Yes, I do. Okay. I have to tell you that I worked for over 10 years to make sure that the legislature passed something called online voter registration. And in October of 2017, we joined 26 other states to allow individuals to register to vote online. You can update your information, your party, your address, and it is registertovoteflorida.gov. I didn't choose that one. The Secretary of State was opposed to this legislation, and I think he made the longest tagline in the world. But you can register to vote online. You can change your political affiliation. You can update your address. You can update your name. And if you have a driver's license or a Florida ID, we actually are going live to clip your signature, bring your information over. You complete the form, and it pops to us electronically. It is very popular with the young kids. They don't really do paper. They do their phone. And so what they're asking now is, can I let them vote online? Nope. We have paper ballots for security, and at a later date I can talk about cybersecurity, but I have to tell you, we're working with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and Palm Beach County. We're behind their firewall. Our machines are never connected to the internet, and each iPad that you check into is licensed and encrypted separately and downloaded individually. I deploy multiple iPads out to each voting location, and so they would have to take out each iPad, and if we find a problem with an iPad, we take it out and replace it. We own 3,500.
Thank you. We have a question. The website is...
registertovoteflorida.gov. registertovoteflorida.gov. I know. He don't want it.
Okay, here's a question. Multiple questions. On the multiple question issue, if we feel no on one, and it's multiple questions, and yes to say two of them, and there's 3 parts of the amendment, do we reject the entire amendment? What's the consequences? You can explain the consequences, the issue.
That is your personal determination. If you feel strongly about the one issue and the other 2 you can bear, then do what your conscience wants you to do. I really can't express how to vote on these questions. I operate as a nonpartisan individual, but my feeling very strongly is that this is a disservice to our community, it's a disservice to our people, and I intend to vote no on most of the questions.
But the question is, I'm fairly ignorant, can they vote for one part of a 3-part question? That's the answer they want to know.
Okay, if it's got multiple things, your yes vote is yes on everything, your no vote is no on everything.
Now remember that. Be careful what you do out there. Anybody else have questions? And we have a lady here had a question. Lori's going to see her now and answer the question. Anybody else?
Thank you very much, and thanks so much for all that you do for our community. We couldn't be here without you, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the work you do. And you're going to remain for a few minutes to receive any requests for vote by mail. Okay, so we had a question here earlier, and it was a long question written. I'm going to read it out loud and just respond to it the best I can, because remember, we give you the information, and what we don't know, we'll let you know later for sure, and usually it'll go in the newsletter. Regarding development west of Jog Road on Hagen Ranch Agricultural Reserve and 441, the Florida statute provides that developers agree to pay for transportation impacts, as we explained there. The facts, clear and undisputed, are that traffic in the area, especially Atlantic Avenue, will increase geometrically, maybe exponentially. Exactly what has the Alliance done to ensure that developers have paid for road improvements to allow timely progress? Well, of course, that's one thing that goes with conditions of approval, and that's all in the conditions of approval whenever they get a development order amendment, and that gets put into, the money gets put into the county, and the county is sure to collect that money. And it gets paid years in advance, and then it's put into a fund and probably is collecting interest and controlled by the county. Have all the developers signed binding agreements to construct its fair share of Atlantic Avenue? I've never seen one DOA, that's a development order amendment, that's ever had anything that says that they don't have to sign that binding agreement. They absolutely do for particular projects that they put their money in. And has sufficient money been collected? Well, there's a price that's for it, and within a few years the development of the road happens. It's not like it happens 20 or 30 years later, it's within a certain amount of time. But that's something, has sufficient money been collected? That is something that I would ask again to Nick Uren when he comes in November. That would be a great question to ask him. And what has the Alliance done to protect members' best interests vis-a-vis overwhelming development plans. Oh boy, what have we done? What haven't we done? I'll tell you, the most important thing is the traffic analysis, and that's what all developments are based on. And that's one thing that it's something with the county. If the traffic analysis works, then they're allowed to build it. In that respect, as far as traffic, as far as the number of, things are changing now. Just to let you know one thing, things are changing. Commercial developments now, sometimes developers are bringing these site plans back and they want mixed use. So instead of an entire 19-acre parcel with 300,000 square feet of commercial, sometimes they're coming back and they say, we'd like to put some residential, some commercial. And actually, that makes, many times, the traffic impact actually get lower. But it doesn't matter. Plans are changing. You might see a piece of land. We have one on Atlantic Avenue right now, for an example, the corner of Hagen Ranch Road and Atlantic Avenue. And that was a completely commercial development. But we have presented it to you during the in the newsletter this past summer, and we always encourage comments and questions and everything. And what's happened is that people are asking, what's new with that? Well, nothing's new yet. The site plan hasn't come up, but that developer happens to be requesting some residential instead of all commercial. It just might be that might look better and be better, but what we're doing, what we always do, is we always work with the adjoining communities to make sure they get the buffering, they get what they need, and of course, it always gets put out to our Alliance members who comment on it all the time. We do what we can, everything we can do as civic activists. Any additions, President Bob? That was the question, and a lot of that was actually explained in that little piece of paper I gave you. But that Florida statute's 7 pages long, and we'll send that out on email to everybody.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. President Bob, are we ready for next month? Next month, whatever amendments are on the ballot, whatever they end up being on the ballot, I'm sure by next meeting we're going to know. And Todd Bunlauer will be here from the county explaining everything. And this is so important because only once every 10 years do these constitutional amendments come onto the ballot. And this is an important time. And Susan Bucher brought up some really, really intriguing questions that we need to continue to vet. And you'll get more information in the next newsletter. And next month, please come for a really great meeting. We'll see you then.
Well, thank you all for coming. Be well. Come back and join us next month. We'll have the usual breakfast. Anybody has any questions and want to speak to me, come on up and I'll be glad to talk to them.